Okay, so today we're looking at essential checkmate patterns. This will be part 4, the rook roller, also known as the ladder mate. We're going to first orient ourselves about the board, and then we will look at how to do this checkmate using a poorly played king, just kind of showing the basic concept. And then after we get done with that, we're going to go ahead and look at it with a well-played king. So as far as board orientation, we need to understand the coordinate system and the ranks and files of a chessboard. So this square here in the bottom corner is A1. Say the letter first and then the number. So this is A1. This black king is on E5. And these vertical columns are what we call files. So A through H are called files, and these horizontal rows are called ranks. So rank and file is how we talk about the chessboard. So there are 8 ranks, 1 through 8, and there are 8 files, A through H. Now, white always starts on the first and second rank. That's the way it's supposed to be anyway. And black would start on the 7th and 8th rank. So the rook roller, we're going to demonstrate the simplest version of this. This is actually the first checkmate that I learned as a young chess player. We can simply push the king back to the edge of the board. You usually want to pick an edge of the board. I mentioned that this is also referred to as the ladder checkmate. So this first scenario is going to look a little bit more like climbing up a ladder. You know, we move one hand and then we move the other hand and then we move the other hand like climbing a ladder. So this scenario is going to have the king playing very poorly. He's not going to go after the rooks or anything. So you want to kind of trap the king. So if white's to move here, we move the rook up, and this rook now creates a barrier on this 4th rank that the black king cannot cross. And let's pretend, again, he's not going to go after the rook. Probably the best move would be move the rook to d5, or the king to d5 here, but instead he's just going to go over here, just to make it more simple, for example. And this c4 rook is the barrier. He's kind of like the jail keeper, keeping the black king on these other ranks, on the 5th through 8th rank. So we don't want to move him. If we moved him to the 5th rank here, checking the king, well, then the king could jump back to the 4th rank, and that would be a little bit of a problem. So we're going to move the other rook first. And now, since we have this barrier rook on the 4th rank, obviously the king can't step that direction. He must step back to the 6th rank, okay? And now the rook that we just moved is now the new jailer, the gatekeeper that keeps the black king from escaping back to the bigger portion of the board. So we're not going to move him. We're going to move our right hand up the board and check the king. Okay, and now again, the king cannot step to the 5th rank because it's guarded by this gatekeeper rook that we had in place, the previously moved rook. So he must step somewhere on the 7th rank. And if he steps back here like that, now the rook that we moved to the 6th rank, the right hand, is now the gatekeeper or the jailer, keeping the king from moving onto the larger portion of the board. So we're going to move our left hand up this time and kick the king off the 7th rank. That our jailer is in place, so he can't go to the 6th rank. He must go to the 8th rank, and now we can raise up our right hand and checkmate. There's no way for the king to escape here. Our 8th rank rook is taking away the d8, the e8, and the f8 square. So the king is in check. He can't move to d8 or f8. He can't move anywhere on the 7th rank because of our b7 rook. Okay, so first of all, let's notice that our rooks are staggered. They're not on the same rank or file. You want to make sure that's the case. These rooks need to be able to move past each other. And one issue with that is that they're not going to be able to guard each other. So you want them to be staggered so that they can move past each other as you're climbing the ladder. but they are vulnerable. So if black is playing well, he should be going after those rooks to try to hopefully keep you from checkmating him. So here we continue our ladder mate. So left rook is up higher, so we're going to move up with the right rook. And the king should actually just go ahead and go after that rook. So he attacks the rook, and as we did last time, you might think, well, I'll go ahead and move this other rook and put him in check. But the trouble is, you would lose your rook here on c4. So the king is already attacking our rook, so we can't go about this ladder mate the way that we saw it in the easier version. So, well, rooks are super fast in comparison to kings. Kings are like very old men, and rooks are like young track athletes. They can just zip all the way over to the other side of the board. So anytime the king gets into proximity of your rook, just zip him over to the other side of the board, and the king is not going to be able to catch them in the end. It's going to take a little bit longer, but this is still ends up being a very easy checkmate. Maybe black's anticipating this rook would like to come up, this b3 rook would like to come up to b5 and play check, so maybe he steps over here and prevents that move from happening. So again, we can't play to b5, so the king's kind of threatening us, and we're going to use our track shoes, and we're going to zip all the way over, almost to the other edge of the board. So you don't want to go with this rook all the way over to h3 here, because now they're on the same file, and you don't want them to be on the same rank or file with the other rook. So we go almost all the way over. We just go to g3 instead, and it's going to take a while for that king to catch up to us. We might have to run to the other side of the board again. I'm not sure how that's going to work out. I didn't calculate it, but so now the king needs to, if you're playing well for black, you need to go after these rooks. h4 rook is playing our barrier or our jailer, keeping him from getting back to the other side. And oh, by the way, you definitely want to make sure your king is just kind of out of the way of this to make it move more efficiently. You actually could use your king to help out, but we're not going to talk about that today. So we're going to go ahead and move this left rook, our left hand, up the ladder. And yeah, the king can't go into fourth rank because of the jailer keeping him in there. So he should run towards the rooks to hopefully cause some problems. Maybe white will forget that his rooks are vulnerable, being on separate ranks and files. We'll be able to win one of his rooks. So fifth rank rook is the jailer. So and the other rook kicks him off the sixth rank. So he has no choice but to go somewhere on the seventh rank. And again, like I said, he should challenge the rooks. And we would love to be able to move to the seventh rank here, but we can't because the king is obviously going to be threatening him. So you really can move either of these rooks just to the other side of the board. You're going to probably end up moving them both to the other side of the board. I think I'll just move this closer one first. That's generally a little bit more efficient. Not by much, though. And now, well, black king cannot step to the g file because this rook is here. He would love to challenge this rook as it comes to g7, but he also wants to avoid the edge of the board because that's where you can't checkmate a king in the middle of the board with a pair of rooks only, unless there's some other pieces blocking him. So he wants to avoid the edge of the board, so he steps over, and now we can come down and check him here and drive him to the 8th rank. Now, he can't possibly challenge the rook over here on the A file, so his only chance is to maybe challenge here and hope that maybe white will mess up and go ahead and play rook to A8 check, and then we'll be able to win this rook here. But instead, like I said, anytime the king challenges your rooks, put on your track shoes and just run almost all the way to the other side of the board. Again, you don't want to go all the way to A7 here because your rooks will then be on the same file, and you don't want them on the same rank or file so they can slide past each other. And now it's hopeless. The game's over. There's no way for black to survive. It's checkmate in a single move. We got our barrier rook in place. We're going to make sure we always have that barrier rook in place, preventing the king from running away. And we're going to go ahead and move the A file rook to A8. And that's game over. That's it. Well, this concludes our video on the rook roller, also known as the ladder checkmate. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you found this video informative, and hit that notification bell if you'd like to know about more videos like this, as I am posting new videos every Monday and Thursday. Have a great week.